right. Well, welcome to our interview skills training. I'm excited to share this last piece of our series with you guys today. So, when we're talking about interviewing, typically there's an informational interview, a phone or video interview, and then that traditional face to face. So, informational interview is an interview where you're just gathering information. So, this could be maybe a career that you're interested in, and you're just talking to someone about what that job actually looks like and what they do on a day to day basis, type of training and education they've received. So, really, it's just an interview to gather information, okay? A phone or video interview is very much like we are in today's world. We are just sitting in front of our laptop or computer, and we're just interviewing virtually in place of face to face. So this is more common nowadays, but it used to be when I was a recruiter, I would do this for students that were maybe in a school out of state and I couldn't interview them in person. I would do a phone or a video interview. Okay. And then there's the traditional face to face interview where you go into a business, or sometimes it's outside of a business, maybe in a coffee shop or something like that. And you have that traditional interview where they're asking you about your strengths and areas for improvement, and just trying to get to know you as a person. So when we're interviewing, one of the things that is really important is the way we dress. Okay, and I actually just put two random photos here that are considered business casual. Okay, and so it's hard when you're going for an interview. You never know what to wear, and so I want to just talk to you guys about that a little bit. And really, I think it depends on the type of job you're going for, and you want to dress for that position. So, if I were to go for a position in a construction field, I may be more relaxed than I would if I were going for a position in a medical field or a lawyer office or something like that. So, I can definitely share more with you guys one on one on what that looks like. But definitely, some of the things that I would have looked at is, are you well groomed? So, what does that mean? Did you shower? Do your hair? Maybe your fingernails are trimmed, or if they're clean. If you're a guy, sometimes when you get working outside or with tools, they're not that clean. Are your clothes well pressed? Are you wearing deodorant? Okay, so sometimes people aren't taking showers regularly, and so you want to make sure you're doing things like that. So our clothes are ironed and we look the very best that we can. Okay, maybe if you're going into a profession where they want your facial hair trimmed, then you have that. No big, like I like to wear big earrings. I might wear smaller earrings, things like that. So for guys, generally, what I say is having like a nice pair of slacks, a polo or a sweater, versus an untucked t-shirt or a hoodie, things like that. We don't want to wear anything with holes, no perfumes that are too strong, things like that. So no excessive jewelry, no excessive makeup. Everything is just kind of toned down a little bit and a little more professional to the field that you're in. And it is really important to think about the field that you're in, because an electrician is going to look completely different than maybe a receptionist at an office. So kind of keep that in mind. Do you guys have any questions or concerns about dress? You can ask them now or you can ask them later. Okay, perfect. We'll move on. Okay, so one thing that is really important, and we talked about this last week, is about being dependable and good time management. So making sure that you're on time for your interview. And that doesn't mean that you show up exactly when your interview is supposed to start. That means you arrive a little early, but not too early. So I would say about 5 minutes is perfectly fine. I always say to allow time to find the location of the interview, time to park, and time to kind of go from your car to that area, because we all know that sometimes parking isn't right in front of where we need to go, and sometimes we have to park a few blocks down and walk. So keep that in mind. Even if you're doing a virtual interview, being prepared and ready a few minutes early. So I know, my thing is when I have a training, I always try to arrive just a few minutes early so I can prepare myself and be ready to go when it's time. So keep that in mind. This is one of those things that it's the first impression. Was that person there on time? Did they arrive 20 minutes early for an interview? That's a little much. Were they late for the interview? So these are things that interviewers will kind of look for. And so preparing for the interview. So this is a really big piece of it because I think it shows how interested you are in this position. So the first thing I would say is in that green box up there, it says research the company, right? So employers appreciate applicants who have done their homework and know a little bit about the company. So if you're going to come interview with me and say I work in an accounting firm and there's multiple accounting firms, I would want to know what you know about my company, what research you have done. If you're going to be working in, a pizza restaurant, there's so many different pizza restaurants. Maybe understanding what is important and different about that restaurant versus the other ones in town. Okay, so that's the kind of things that you can start doing to prepare for the interview. When you're researching, at the same time, you can have questions to ask in the interview. So having questions to ask in the interview shows that you are interested in it. One of the things that we always do at the end of the interview is say, do you have any questions? And if someone says no, well, it doesn't mean that they're not interested, but it maybe means that they didn't prepare any questions for the interview, or it could be that all of their questions were asked answered during the interview, but it's still always good to ask at least one or two questions at the end, or maybe just talk about something that you had already talked about even more detail, okay? And then the last area is be prepared to answer questions about yourself. And so this one might be a little more challenging and take a little more practice. So you do want to think about areas that you have strengths and areas that you have to develop. And I know for me, I have so many areas that I think I do really well in, but I also have a lot of areas that I feel like I'm still continuing to grow and still needing to develop. And that should be just always in every single person. You have some things that you're really good at and things that you're still working on to get better at. And once you get better at those, then there'll be a whole new set of things. And so it's not a negative thing to talk about yourself and your strengths and the areas for improvement. It's really a positive thing. And we talked about being positive last week and how, that is such a big impact when you are meeting people and interviewing, things like that. So being able to talk about those things now in this interview is really important. So you want to practice that and be prepared to talk about that. Okay. Okay, so we talked about your attitude matters, right? And we talked about how when you stand like this and your arms crossed, it's very closed off and it's not very approachable. So we want you to be friendly, you're smiling, be positive. I don't want you to be someone you're not, but I also want you to be conscious about how you appear to others. So there are people that just have a look when they are focused of not interested or a scowl. And so we want, when they are talking, to remember to be friendly and smile and have those good qualities come across. We talked about body language and watching that. I talk a lot with my hands. When I'm cold, I definitely go like this. So I have to remember to not do that and be very open with my body language as well. Okay. Okay, so first impressions are really important. And, some of these things we can't practice virtually, but you can practice on your own. And so right now we're not handshaking, but hopefully someday, again, soon, we will be handshaking again. And so the first thing you do when you meet someone is you generally reach out your hand and you shake their hands, right? So we talked about it last week, how the handshake is so important. And you can have that nice, solid grip with the three pumps as your handshake, or you can have the wimpy handshake or the wet handshake. I always tell everybody before you shake a hand, just wipe it on the side of your pants and then go in for a handshake. So you might practice with someone at home your handshake. So it's a very confident handshake, okay? Again, we're not handshaking right now, but hopefully we will be soon. Also being able to talk with eye contact. That is really hard. We often look away. I think I mentioned last week how I'm a squirrel. So if there's anything going on over here, that's where my eyes go. And so one thing that you can do to practice eye contact is stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. It'll also be really good because then you can see if you're smiling, what your body language is. And if you want to take it up another level, you can video yourself and then watch it. That is so challenging because you will see all the little things that you want to work on. But that is exactly why we do it. We video to ourselves so we can watch and we can see areas that we feel like we can improve on. Also talking with confidence about our strengths and our weaknesses and our goals and things like that. Again, body language, I can't tell you how important body language is. It has its own language that speaks for itself. We just talked about talking about yourself. Think about all the different things that you've done so far in your life and that you want to share. What do you feel is important? For me, my passion for people and helping people, I definitely want that to come across in an interview. Maybe for you, it's that you have a love for cooking and you want to share that love with everybody else. So kind of think about that. Remember to smile. I know sometimes it's hard when you don't know someone and you're nervous, but a smile really kind of brightens the room and it warms everything up. And then just be positive. Even if you've had negative situations in your life, which we all have had those in our lives where maybe we didn't do so well in a class or a situation with a teammate, but really find a positive spin on it. And what lesson did you learn from that? Okay, because there are lessons from all of our lives and all of the experiences that we had. So remain positive. If you worked somewhere or you didn't like something, you don't need to share the negative side of it. Just share, I moved on. We had a disagreement, but I moved on. That's really a better way to go about it. It's the bigger person piece of it. So if you have those sticky situations, try to figure out how you're going to talk about it in a positive way. All right. So, and this is really important. I used to love when people would follow up with a thank you note. And in that thank you note, they would write something specific about what we talked about. So it wasn't just a generic thank you note, but they took the time out of their day to write a thank you note to me. And that really meant a lot to me. And sometimes it made the difference between offering somebody a job and not offering somebody a job. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you have two candidates that are neck and neck and that candidate went the extra mile to send me a handwritten thank you note or an email thank you note, it really does mean a lot. I know even with my scholarships, I make sure that our students write thank you notes. It's a good habit, and it's just a great thing when you receive them. You guys, that is it. So now I'm going to jump back into our Google Meet and open it up for questions from you guys. Anybody have any questions? Now, does anybody have an interview coming up that they're getting ready for? Or are they starting to look for a job? Yeah, Duncan, are you looking or do you have one scheduled? Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else? Was this information helpful? Do you think it'll help you when you're going through your interview? Yeah. Good. Well, again, these are meant to be just kind of really short, packed with information. if you guys have questions, or even if you want to just practice interviewing with somebody, I'm happy to do that. I have community members that are happy to do that. We've done resumes, soft skills, and now interview training. So you have all the tools that you need. I will be uploading all of these videos onto our YouTube channel so you guys can check those out if you need like a quick refresher. But if you need one-on-one help, feel free to reach out to me. We'll set up a virtual meeting and we'll work on a plan specifically for you and what your goals are, okay? All right, well, that's all I have. I made it super short and sweet for you guys. So enjoy the rest of your day and I will talk to you later. Bye.